Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Canada's Sportsbook.
SDPP. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
You know, the Leafs signed some people, and Steve and Jesse are wearing the same shirt, but that's not really the top story today. The top story today is Pierre-Luc Dubois wants out of Winnipeg.
Again.
And you know what? Like, to be honest with you, sometimes signings are just signings. It's like, oh, this person signed this contract. What does it mean for the team? Blah, 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 blah. And we'll talk about Yarncroke. We'll talk about Engvall. We'll talk about what it means for the Leafs having to clear cap space. But it is an interesting headline that Pierre-Luc Dubois' agent says, yeah, he wants out. He's requested a trade already. And we did sort of talk about this like 4 weeks ago. You know, they were talking about, well, how is Winnipeg going to re-sign him? What's the number going to be?
Because he came out and said that he's not signing an extension when he's due for free agency in 2 years.
Which to me was the trade request.
Right.
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, so
But-
he's just saying, please trade me.
But now apparently he wants to play for the Canadians, which is nice. But like,
He's from Quebec.
if you're not an unrestricted free agent, you don't get to make that choice.
Oh, yeah, no, if I'm the Jets, I go ugly route with this for sure.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah, 100%. No, you play for us or you don't play at all. Yeah. No, I definitely go that route. And he's hoping for an offer sheet. Why would the Montreal Canadiens offer sheet Pierre-Luc Dubois?
This is the worst trade request I've seen in my entire life.
It's a bumble. Like the whole thing. They've just
From a strategic standpoint, like no one else is going to go out and get you.
no. The Jets can't trade you for fair value. Remember, they traded Patrick Laine for you.
Yeah, they're not. Maybe the play here is I do want to stay in Winnipeg. I just want to squeeze them for every dollar they're worth. I don't think that's going to work. No, if I'm the Jets, sit. We'll lose some games. Fuck you. Because there are some markets who they simply can't allow this to happen. Like, you know, now I think we're starting to see the importance of Columbus maybe overpaying a bit for Zach Werenski, right? Because it was a statement from them. We're serious. We want people to come here. We want people to stay here. They got someone to stay, and then someone showed up.
Mm-hmm. They underpaid for one, overpaid for another.
Yeah, well, and Erica Branson as well. But you know,
I meant Erica Branson, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Werenski is that much of an overpay. Seems okay.
Yeah. But like we saw in Buffalo years ago, where they lost Danny Briere and they lost Chris Drury, and then the Oilers offer sheeted Thomas Vanek, and they put their foot down and they said, "Damn it, we don't care how much money it's for. We don't care that it's an overpayment. We are not losing Thomas Vanek." The Jets can't afford to give Pierre-Luc Dubois what he wants here. I think they need to go out of their way to give him exactly the opposite, actually.
It's an awkward thing because his dad coaches like a level below, works within the organization. It's awkward.
Yeah,
it's awkward. Listen,
his tenure with the organization predates.
Certainly, and one should not affect the other, but it's awkward. Like my mom and I have the same employer. If I started spouting my mouth off, it would probably make things awkward for her.
Yeah.
Right?
The bosses at Bell are pieces of shit. Marilyn, can you speak to your son?
Yeah, it would be a problem. And I think
Alanis.
I think what's interesting here is that you have to look at the justification. Why?
For who?
Well, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now, this is 2 seasons in a row, essentially. It feels like 2 seasons. Maybe it's a season and a half.
2 in 3.
Where he has magically said, I'm leaving, or I want to go, and not really given any reason why.
Well, I mean, maybe he just wants to be close to home. I mean, we've already seen that. He's from Quebec. Montreal's in Quebec. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I totally get it. But if I'm the Jets, I go, that's nice. And I don't give him what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Especially after making it public.
Yeah, I want to go to this specific team. Go fuck yourself. I don't have to make that happen.
For Dubois, it's just an awful way to go about your business. Like I don't understand what strategy they concocted with the agent if they thought this would be effective, but it seems the opposite of how you get what you want. If your ultimate goal was to get traded, this isn't how you go about it. So who's his agent?
I will find out.
While Adam's looking that up, like, can you imagine with how much of a stickler he was for every little thing. Can you imagine Mark Bergevin?
Pat Brisson, who had a great relationship with the Canadians. He's good friends with Mark Bergevin, but no longer.
Yeah. Can you imagine Mark Bergevin being like, yeah, we're going to go get Pierre-Luc Dubois after requesting 2 trades before 25?
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Well, Mark Bergevin wouldn't do that.
No, I know, but he's not there anymore. But I'm just beyond his talent, because he has some. I don't understand why the Montreal Canadiens, who are, we heard about how tough they were on prospects at the draft combine for interviews, because they have to be, because it's Montreal. Like, Pierre-Luc Dubois really just thinks he's going to request a trade to Montreal. It's going to go fine. He's not going to be compared to the people that Montreal gave up for the rest of his life, and he's just not going to answer any questions about it.
Right. And if you're Winnipeg, you have no reason to accommodate this trade request. You're not going to get any value for PLD at the moment. So why would you ever do that?
So this is a great year to take a step backwards.
Yeah.
You sit, and we'll be in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes.
I'm just questioning his strategic motive here.
Well,
if he went off the course, like if he just did this on his own, I don't know.
Let me shine some light on it. It might be the fact that there was he was at the draft in Montreal a couple weeks ago, because he believed
wild.
Because he believed a trade to the Habs would be completed on the draft floor.
Who told him that?
According to Arpon Basu and Murat Atis, usually a GM can call an agent beforehand and say, "Hey, listen, there's a trade brewing. Just want to let you know."
Right.
That can happen. I don't know if it happened here. The Canadiens reportedly offered 3 players. They have not been named to the Jets for Dubois, but were unsuccessful. Winnipeg is holding up the deal by asking for a player that Montreal refuses to move. Also, it was rumored in the 2016 draft under Mark Bergevin that the Canadiens had a deal in place to send PK to the Canucks, PK Subban to the Canucks, if Dubois made it to the 5th overall pick. However, the Blue Jackets picked him 3rd.
I remember that. I do remember that.
Crazy. Now, so he's probably feeling like, okay, you're holding. So maybe if you're, and I'm gonna go PLD on this one. I'm gonna be side of PLD. You thought the trade was going to happen. You were under the impression it was going to happen, and the team that you don't want to play for, that you already sort of have a sour relationship with anyway, is holding it up because they want a player that Montreal will not give them. So maybe he's trying to push this through, like, I'm not going to play for you. And again, it goes back to, Steve, what did you start this conversation saying? If you're Winnipeg, what do you do?
You cannot accommodate Dubois at all. You have to just let him sit or play for you. Is that what I said?
Yeah, basically. You got to play tough.
You got to play tough.
Because the other thing, too, is you got to, with Winnipeg, this is a smaller market club in the NHL. And they don't spend like it. They don't act like it because they have an owner who's like on the top 50 billionaires in the world list. It's one of the richest families in our country and one of the richest families in the world. They can light tens of millions of dollars on fire. They don't care. And there's plenty of reasons to own an NHL franchise. And they are fantastic owners, and it's a fantastic fan base. But the reality is, they're not a huge money-making club, right? If they don't play hardball with this guy, who is a mid-level player at best at the moment, mid-level,
he's good.
He's a second, third line center, right?
I'd say
at his best, he's a second. Yeah. Okay. If they don't play hardball with him, what do you do with actual stars?
Right.
Who are extremely difficult in the Winnipeg dressing room. Like, we know that Blake Wheeler's not the easiest guy. He said as much. We know that Mark Scheifele's not the easiest guy. Look at what he said at the end of the press conference.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Or end of year press conference.
Pierre-Luc Dubois, before he's turned 25, or maybe he's 25, has found a way to be the most difficult player in a trade involving Patrick Laine. Like, are you serious, bro?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Winnipeg, again, the Patrick Laine thing, someday somebody's going to have to come on and explain that. What the hell happened there?
Well, and like he didn't file salary arbitration. Sounds like things are going well. I'm talking about Laine here.
Yeah.
Neither of them did, actually, but for probably different reasons. Like, Laine seems to think the negotiations are going well.
Dubois,
he was pleased with the Johnny Gaudreau acquisition. Dubois is hoping to get offer sheeted, and it's just not going to happen.
Well, and then also, he didn't file for salary arbitration because he'd probably lose. I don't know that he's going to make the money that he thinks he's going to make in salary. If he thought he would have filed.
Yeah. I don't blame him for wanting to go home, play for your childhood team. Maybe I assume.
You got to earn that though.
Yeah,
You got to earn that right.
This is not how you do it.
And it's not like, listen, if we want to have a bigger discussion about how it's super weird that at the, what do they call it? What's the other name for the draft that they were calling it when we were there?
Oh God,
the boy auction.
That's what many people
literally
called it.
A random team selects you, and you have to stay there, and you've got to be there for like 8 years minimum, and then you got to be like 25, maybe 26, maybe 27 before you actually get to decide your own fate.
Oh, it sucks.
It's listen, I'm in full agreement with that. It sucks, but it's the system currently.
Yeah. I don't. And like, how can Winnipeg demand what they want then? So let's say, okay, you know what? Fuck this. We just want to move on. They don't have any leverage in this situation.
Again, like they almost didn't have with Laine. Like, who was picking up when the Patrick Laine trade happened? Who was like, man, lining up for Laine? There wasn't some big auction for him. It was like Winnipeg traded a guy that didn't want to be there for Columbus's guy who didn't want to be in Columbus.
Like, if we're going by winners and losers here for the Laine Dubois deal, unless Winnipeg gets a real crop for Dubois, I'd say Columbus handily won the deal because they still got Laine, who had a decent little bounce back, and Jack Roslovic's like their first or second center right now.
He's been great.
He has been good. He's been quite good. I don't understand what this guy wants. I don't understand what advice he's getting. I don't understand why he thinks this is going to work out for him. And
more importantly, Pat Brisson, if he's not the biggest, is one of the biggest agents in the sport.
He's one of the
Why
biggest.
does Pat Brisson think this is going to work?
Well, and why is Pat Brisson always involved in this shit? Like, remember he was involved in the Pacioretty thing?
And the Pacioretty fired him.
And Pacioretty fired him for, do you remember?
Noted agent Alan Walsh.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It feels like he's always involved.
Yeah. Now, maybe that's because
Tavares fired him too.
Brisson?
People forget, like, it's funny.
Tavares fired him?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
well, we'd have to go back and look at this. But, you know, people talk about how Tavares is overpaid. He was one of the most criminally underpaid players in the league for a long time. He, with the Islanders, was making, I think, less than $6 million. He signed a sweetheart deal as the former first overall pick, and I believe Brisson was his agent for that. And I remember being like, as that deal evolved, like, geez, this guy should fire his agent because he did a shitty job. And then I'm pretty sure he did.
Well, okay. Now, where do you go from here? If you're Winnipeg,
He's still John Tavares' agent.
So maybe he fired his agent and then went with Brisson.
maybe that's what it was.
I don't think so.
I have a
No?
question
No.
about.
Are you sure? No.
Where do you go from here if you're Winnipeg? And I know we said play hardball,
The basement.
right? Because this is tough, right? In the context of the Jets, I'm sure Brisson and Pierre-Luc Dubois can't believe that they've got real cards in their corner because Winnipeg's at it's sort of in sort of a weird point because they couldn't get Barry Trotz to agree to. It wasn't because of Winnipeg. It was just Barry wanted to take the year off. Scheifele was pretty pointed in his comments at the end of the year, saying, "I want to figure out what's going on here." There was lots of rumors about Blake Wheeler potentially moving, although I don't think that's going to happen now. I don't think either of those guys are going to move now. There's not a lot of teams that have the cap space to take them, unless there's cap coming back. The Jets weren't particularly great last year. They were good.
They were fine.
They were fine. They have a former Vezina Trophy winner in net, which, hey, that could put you in the playoffs any day.
They were a good fantasy team.
So lots of goals, lots of PIMs.
Yep. I got Dubois. He was great.
Yeah,
I got him off waivers. He was wonderful.
Right. But
he had almost 30
but
goals.
their defense is terrible, and apparently there have been dressing room issues for years now.
Like, as interesting as the PLD, the trade request is how toxic it seems the Winnipeg dressing room is from players, from their top stars out. Everybody seems criminally unhappy in that locker room. And I don't know if you guys remember that Paul Wycheck, is that how you say his name is?
Oh,
his tweet.
this tweet that didn't get nearly enough attention.
So Paul tweeted about 4 months ago, In 30 years of journalism, including the better part of a decade covering crime, some of the worst people I have ever met were inside the Winnipeg Jets dressing room.
Now, is he?
That's a wild thing to say.
That's pretty intense. And I don't know anything about the reporter.
No, me neither.
So I couldn't, if you're a native Winnipegger, maybe you'd be able to tell us.
Writer for the Winnipeg Free Press.
So that's a pretty serious publication.
Mm-hmm.
However, pretty serious publications do have knobs working for them.
Right,
so I don't know if this guy's one of the, every local media has a couple local knobs. And I'm not sure if he's the local knob or not.
So that's it's a dramatic of a tweet, but I think there's enough evidence to know that the locker room that's run by Wheeler and Scheifele and all those guys is not a good environment for everybody around them, and including themselves, because they clearly don't want to be there either. And it seems like there needs to just be a wholesale change in Winnipeg, and they just need to get over with it. And Kevin Sheldayoff needs to tear it down to the bones and get new players in there.
Here's the thing, and we've I remember there was a time where we used to criticize Kevin Sheldayoff all the time for doing nothing. And now that we've learned some things over the years, I can confidently say being the GM of the Winnipeg Jets is being an NHL GM on hard.
Yeah.
It's because, okay, go out there and find a trade. Almost anybody, 95% of the players in the NHL with trade protection ain't coming to Winnipeg.
They ain't coming to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. Then it's my favorite time of year when people are like, why doesn't my favorite team sign this guy or that guy or that guy? It might not be that they didn't have interest. It might just be that he didn't go.
So your options are to either try something different or stick with guys who don't want to be there and are unhappy.
Well,
I'm not going to keep trying with the unhappy guys.
But
enough is enough.
If you tear it down, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to build it back up. And with the Jets, there's less guarantee. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think with any rebuild, you're going to a situation where you don't know if you're going to build it back up. Look at the Buffalo Sabres, who have been rebuilding for 10 years.
But that's a great example, though, because they've drafted poorly, so that's their fault. But also, they haven't been able to recruit anyone to come to Buffalo to help with that rebuild.
And then if you see situations like the Jack Eichel trade, for instance, that's where you're getting some assets that are going to build towards your future.
Well, and what was the most important thing Kevin Adams did in all that? He acquired a player who wanted to be a Sabre.
Right. And you're going to find those players along your rebuild. It's not a complete vast wasteland of nobody will ever play in Winnipeg.
Right.
If you start a rebuild, you're going to find some guys, and eventually things will turn around if you have good management. You have good drafting in particular is where you got to hit, because you're going to be at the bottom. That's where you're going to get the players who are controllable. And then eventually you get the free agent, one or two that come and they sign because they see what you're doing and you're building.
And it's one of the best atmospheres in the whole league, right? If you want fan support, they're there. Not every player, strangely, in the NHL wants that. Some of them, you almost get the impression they prefer nobody was there. But I think Winnipeg, the weather's tough. There's no way around it. It's like Edmonton. The weather's really tough. But there are certain players that can handle that. And if you're the GM, it's your job to find them. Mm-hmm. And I think, if weather was the only issue, then the Florida Panthers would be perennial Stanley Cup winner, and they've been perennial shit until recently. They were garbage.
Why didn't you name the one that is a perennial Stanley Cup winner?
Tampa, but they are well managed. That's what my point is. That if Arizona, if you want great weather, Arizona's a great place for you. Yet nobody will sign there, and that's because of the atmosphere. And I would say that whatever's going on in the atmosphere that's not weather related in Winnipeg, somebody needs to have a look at it. Now, I'd love to have Murat Ates on, who follows the Jets for The Athletic, because I think we need to get a closer look at what the heck this is, because there's been rumors for years, and Jets fans at the beginning used to push back on us pretty seriously about that. Be like, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. You guys don't know shit about the Jets, whatever. And it's like, but here's the thing, they keep popping up. It keeps happening. Now, Pierre-Luc Dubois is not the only thing that has come up. And I think Winnipeg went into the offseason with probably a couple of things on their list to get done. And I have to tell you, I don't think they've done any of those things. They wanted to get Barry Trotz. They didn't get him. They probably wanted to figure out Scheifele and Wheeler. To say that they figured that out is wrong. They probably wanted to get Pierre-Luc Dubois re-signed or at least traded. They haven't done either of those either.
Rick Bowness has such a tough job. This is going to be hard, man. And like, who knows? Like maybe, because remember, Dubois didn't sit out in Columbus.
No, he just played like he just
played like shit.
Yeah,
they had to sit him.
Yeah.
They had to sit him.
Actively stopped trying on the ice.
That clip is one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Rick Bowness, you know what? Wait, was that this year? No, it wasn't. Rick Bowness really has to find a way to avoid that. And I don't know how he does it.
What do you do?
What do you do? I mean, the guys clearly got no fear in just alienating absolutely everyone. So I don't know how you overcome that.
I think
how do you overcome a guy you can't pressure?
You got to get rid of the guys. Like I'm at the end with
it does
the
feel
squad.
stale.
You mean you're not just talking about Dubois?
I'm talking about Dubois and all
the group.
all the leaders, quote leaders over there. The main leader who doesn't play defense.
Both of them.
main leaders
Both of them,
who
yeah.
are among the worst metrically in defense.
Like what they got is a goalie who's just
Man.
been steady for 6 years. The hardest thing to ever get, and they couldn't build a winning team around him except for
Now,
I
their
really
2
thought they would
runs.
take a step last year.
I also
really
feel
did.
bad for for Jets fans because guys like Dustin Byfuglien retiring early, or retiring on his time, but retiring earlier than people thought, and they had a
Well,
pretty.
they dicked him around too.
They did they? Well, with the injury, right?
Yeah,
something with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's something really. Sometimes with certain teams, it does feel stale, and this feels stale.
And this isn't like a new thing. I feel like this goes back to when Kane was there.
Yep.
Like this has been something that's kind of been brewing for 5 years now.
But then they got to the Final Four.
Yeah, and then they were so good, and winning solves who cares if you're winning, you could have the most toxic dressing room in the entire world. But who cares? You're winning.
It'll alleviate
It
it.
doesn't matter because the whole thing is to win hockey games.
It was the 2018 Stanley Cup Final was supposed to be Jets Caps, and Marc-Andre Fleury fucked it up
Because he's real good.
because he's real good. Like I've never seen a team get fucking crushed the way Vegas did and win in 5. They won that series in 5 games. I'm pretty sure. Just Fleury, baby.
So listen, when the Jets inevitably make the playoffs, because we've had this discussion, you feel
Them
free
and
to
the Coyotes.
feel free to clip any of this and send it back to us and say ha ha ha. I'm totally good with
Okay,
that.
yes.
But from a July 18th perspective, things ain't looking great.
But you need to send a PDF of all your tweets from July 2022.
Just so we can reconcile that you knew the Jets were good.
Yeah, so we can make sure that
Okay.
you were also dumb.
Things can be true in the moment and then change over time
No.
as
No.
the things around the
said it.
situation change.
You have to stick to it forever. You can never change your mind. Ever.
I did like the Avalanche fans who, when my tweet was going viral after they won, they were
Which
like,
is?
I said, Joe Sakic really ought to be fired. Look at this nonsense, followed by just the link to their cap-friendly page that updates on a daily basis. No, like a few of them were like, he was pretty shit. Like when he started. He's better.
Well, they were the
He's
last
better
place
now.
team in the NHL, and it was historic.
Yeah.
They were last place.
It was like 30 or 40 points. Like, it was just bad. They were awful.
And then, yeah, like I sent that before they traded Matt Duchene and got Kadri. And listen, the job he did after that tweet was fucking legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, hey, you're welcome. He read it and said, you know what? I'm Joe Sakic and I need to be better. And
I
then
bet
he
Shovel
was.
Dayup's watching this right now going, you know what, Steve? That's just the inspiration I needed.
Yeah, send the tweet. Send the tweets.
Send the tweet, Steve.
It's like smacking Hulk Hogan. He's just like wagging his finger at the camera. You! And he's about to hit you with the big boot.
Now, when Pierre-Luc Dubois inevitably ends up in Jets camp, will he have a better or worse picture than Matt Duchene's last camp with the Avalanche?
Better. I think he can fake it better.
Yeah?
Maybe.
Wait, Duchene could not.
He could not. That dude. Oh my god. I still think he's like underratedly like one of the worst stories from a hockey perspective in the NHL.
What do you mean?
He grew up cheering for the Colorado Avalanche.
Right.
I remember Matt Duchene, he's like a stick freak. He's obsessed with sticks. And they asked him about all the sticks of the Avalanche that he grew up cheering for. And he was able to tell you the exact, stick of Peter Forsberg, the exact stick of Joe Sakic. And then he gets to play for the Avalanche. He celebrated harder than Victor Hedman when Hedman was picked second, because he knew that meant he was going to Colorado third. Then he goes to Colorado, and Patrick Waugh is his coach. And the team is a bloody nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And they're brutal. And they finish third in the NHL, and then they're not a nightmare anymore. And then they fuck it up and they lose in the first round. And then he scores a goal and he celebrates because he got a bonus. And then Patrick Waugh, one of the people he grew up cheering for, lambasts him for what is that? Remember that?
Yeah.
And then you request a trade to Joe Sakic. You say, hey, childhood hero, trade me. I don't want to be with childhood team anymore. And then the deal basically helped rebuild the Avalanche in one fell swoop.
Mm-hmm.
And the Avalanche win the cup without him and beat him in the process.
I think the lesson here is don't request a trade from the Nordiques Avalanche organization. Because look what happened with Lindros. He got them their first cup.
Yeah, but that doesn't count because I like him.
Do you remember when Matt Duchene scored his 30th goal and Patrick Waugh went
That's what you just said.
Oh, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So explain that
Way to
story.
go, Adam Wild.
Explain that story.
Sorry,
Explain that
I
story.
was looking for the quote.
No, get the
when that
quote. Get the
happened.
quote. So he scored his 30th goal. He got a bonus.
Yeah, and it was a 4-0 game, and then after it, Patrick Waugh, he goes to the podium and he says, "The thing I have a bit of a hard time with is his reaction of Duchene after he scores. It's a 4-0 goal, big cheer. Are you kidding me? What is that? It's not the reaction that we want from our guys, not at all." That is after a game that they won, that he scored 30 goals. It was 4-0.
No, they lost.
Oh, it's a 4-0
For the other
for them
team.
losing. Oh,
Yes.
and then he celebrated.
Yeah, and he
Okay,
was like,
okay.
yeah. And was like, okay, cool. Now it's 4-1.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
I had
glad you got your bonus, kid.
Anyways.
I mean, I don't really care if he celebrates that he got a bonus. Good for him.
Oh, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. I'm just
Right.
saying, imagine.
It's just it sucks to have one of your childhood heroes trash you after you just got a gigantic bonus and scored 30 goals in the NHL.
He wanted to go to the Avs so bad. He went. It went terribly. He requested a trade. They won without him and beat him on the way there.
Why did Patrick Waugh win Coach of the Year? He seems to be like a universally not that great coach.
Because he shoved over a stanchion in his first game, and then his team performed well, and everyone said, that's my guy. He is like the first coach to ever win the Jack Adams in October.
That was our first full season as a podcast. And I remember having Steve Simmons on because we disagreed so much that we're like, you know what, let's have him on. And he was very nice, but he said, at that time, it was very analytics versus eye test. He's like, the analytics community says will tell you the Avalanche are bad, but they're, far and away one of the best teams in the NHL right now. And what was it?
They finished third and lost I think it was to Minnesota.
But what was the old metric where it was like a luck stat? It was sort of like
Corsi?
PDO.
Oh, PDO.
Yeah, their PDO was off the charts. It was crazy.
They got saves, they got goals.
And then they lost in 4-5 games in the first round or something like that.
I think it was a long series, but they did lose.
And then the next year they were awful. And I just remember that whole situation. It was just ugh. And Patrick Waugh, first off, he campaigned for the Canadiens job, didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Waugh is an interesting guy because there's a legendary goalie that nobody wants to work with. He's won the Jack Adams Award. Nobody wants him.
Yeah, he's him and the Hunters. They're just some of the best people in the sport.
I don't know if he's good or bad. I don't know, but it's just interesting, isn't it?
It's a little strange that these guys are so good and they're not there. Very odd.
Very odd. Let's get into You Can Bet That with Dave Bastel from Sports Interaction. And as always, you can check out responsible gaming tips in the description on this video or wherever you get your podcast. As always, it's 19 plus, and please play responsibly. It's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. He is David Bastel. Now, David, before we get into the CONCACAF Women's Final and the Home Run Derby, let's talk Pierre-Luc Dubois, because we haven't done that enough. As a native Jets fan, how did you react to the news?
Oh, they can't get rid of him fast enough. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know. You know what? And while you're at it, fire his dad too, because his dad coaches with the Manitoba Moose.
Yes.
I don't want any Dubois in the province of Manitoba.
David is Dunbois with the Dubois.
Hey, there you go.
All right, so let's talk about the CONCACAF Women's Final for a second here. Tell us about the odds. Canada not favored, but really great value if you pick them.
Yeah, really great value. Right now, the States heavily favored. A lot of people are looking back and saying, you know what, the States had that major hiccup in the Olympics where Canada actually beat them on the road to the gold medal game. United States 175 favorites to win. Canada an impressive 4.30. So if you think that Canada could pull off what they did before,
they can.
I think that, well, of course they can, but holy cow, that's some massive odds for a one-game shootout.
I think there's something wrong with your model. Canada should be the favorites.
That's right. Always.
Okay. I'll get on the phone right now.
Hey, odds person.
Can you speak to Sports Interaction, please?
If only we knew somebody there.
Mr. or Mrs. Interaction. I would.
Home run derby as well. There's some big names, including Albert Pujols. Last season, last home run derby. God, we grew up watching this guy, but he's obviously the least favored person going into this. But there is
sentimental favorite.
Yeah.
Sentimental favorite.
Sentimental favorite. But Ronald Acuna Jr., I think, is an interesting one because he's unbelievable, and you got him at a 6.53.
Yeah, pretty good value there. I'm looking at Juan Soto as well because how could you not bet on a guy that said no to $440 million extension? But the favorite, Pete Alonso, the Mets, going for 3 in a row. The last time this happened, it was Ken Griffey Jr. that did it. So Pete Alonso could make some history on the Derby night.
Amazing. Dave Bassel, sportsinteraction.com/STPN to sign up. Dave, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Who doesn't love cereal?
Bad people.
Exactly. The crunch, the sweetness, the way you can accidentally eat a whole box or sneak it in as a midnight snack. But then you grew up and adult cereals were boring or tasted bland or kind of got soggy. You know, what happened to the fun stuff?
I eat Hay-O's. It's cereal made of hay. that's what they make.
My dad used to eat those big clumps of wheat. You know, like he just put it in a bowl and pour milk on it, and the poor thing would just crumple, and he'd be like, "This is good." But my dad never had access to Magic Spoon, where you get 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, or 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. It's low carb. It's keto friendly, it's gluten free, it's grain free, it's soy free, and it's only 140 calories per serving. You could build your own boxes. There's a ton of flavors. Go to magicspoon.com/STP to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it for yourself. And be sure to use that promo code STP at checkout for $5 off your first order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed by a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked.
We have to get Ken some Magic Spoon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Ken needs to cut it with the cow food. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/STP and use that code STP to save $5 off. Now, our next partner is a pretty cool product. It's Athletic Greens, and if you're looking for better gut health, more energy, stronger immune system, really, really easy, natural way, you got to check out Athletic Greens. Now, not a lot of us are huge fans of taking a lot of pills in the morning.
No.
You a big pills in the morning kind of guy?
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, Athletic Greens can help you get rid of all of them and all the extra vitamin bottles as well. Make some room in your cabinet. It's an all-in-one solution. And as we always say, lifestyle friendly, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or that artificial gross flavors that you normally get. And then people try to tell you it's good and it's not good. Athletic Greens is actually good, and we want you to try it. Make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/STP. And again, that's athleticgreens.com/STP to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate in daily nutritional insurance. All right, so the Leafs re-signed Pierre Engvall and signed Calle Yarncroke to a 4-year contract. And because it's summer hockey Twitter, everybody got to debate whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. To me, I mean, and you said it actually kind of really, I thought was great in your Victor Mete /Jordy Ben video, which this is where we're at. We're doing Victor Mete and Jordy Ben videos. And no, I know the numbers are great, and I know people are interested.
No, this is why I just want to bring it up so I can show how sick people are. You're sick. You're all sick. Okay, so the Engvall video went up 3 hours ago. It's got 14,000 views. I made a video called Calle Yarncroke is a Maple Leaf, and then there's mention of the tampering in the title. 120,000 views. You're sick. Sick.
So when it comes to Victor Mete and Jordy Ben, you were like, you said, I stopped for a minute and I actually thought, this is just depth.
This is just depth. It's just depth. Neither of those guys eclipsed 40 games played last year. It's just depth. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I
remember when Victor Mete was the second coming in Montreal.
Oh, I do too. He's
what
a
happened?
young guy. He's not even 25. He never scored. They rushed him.
They rushed him. Okay.
Yeah, they you know what it was? I think he was like a mid-round pick, and he did better than people expected, and he made the World Juniors, and he just didn't live up to expectations, really.
Okay.
And then somehow Ottawa was able to get him off waivers, and now it's to the point where he wasn't qualified, and the Leafs were able to get him for league min.
Which, is a variable contract. He could play for the Marlies next year. You don't know.
Ben and Mete are Leafs now, which means the Leafs don't get to hide those guys in the minors. They're going to get claimed off waivers. So it's just...
That's a good point.
It's 1,000% going to happen.
That's a really good point.
If either of those guys hit waivers,
they're gone.
Even though they were both available for free, yoink.
Pierre Engvall, who was long the whipping boy of Leafs Nation, but last year really came into his own.
The way the season started, he wasn't an everyday player.
And now he's $1 million more than he was last year. And
had a great
rightfully
year.
so. He was very, very good.
Very good. He knocked off a lot of his bad habits, became a better defensive player, a better offensive player. He's huge.
He became a factor. He became noticeable. He did things.
And I saw a projection for the Leafs yesterday that had Engvall in the fourth line. That's cute. That's cute.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's cute that you think the Leafs would sign him to over $2 million to put him on the fourth line.
Maybe that's just cute. Maybe they were just being extremely strict about left wing is left wing, right wing is right wing.
I think they were, and they had Kerfoot there. They're over the cap by $1.5 million and still need to decide Sandin.
So before we get to that,
sure.
Tell me what is Calle Yarncroke now? I know it didn't work out in Calgary.
It did not, but it's funny. We actually talked about him on the show, I think, when Calgary got him. Just a ridiculously consistent scorer. He's money in the bank for somewhere between 10 and 15 goals. Money in the bank for somewhere between like 29 and 35 points. He's got some speed. Can do a little bit of work in the middle. He's probably going to be on the wing. I assume it's going to be Engvall, Kampf, Yarncroke. From
15-16 onwards, and by the way, 15-16 was their run to the finals.
Yes,
in Nashville.
He had a good year.
30 points. Then next year, 31 points. Then 35. Then 26. Then 34, 28, 26. So you know what you're getting.
Yeah, 26 plus 4, I think, because he had 4 when he went to Calgary.
4 in Calgary.
That was a detail that I screwed up in my video.
He didn't score, though. People were really upset about that.
He was out there in the playoffs, though. It wasn't like he didn't get a whole bunch of time when they were on their, I guess, mini run. The Calgary had their 2-round run.
He had a big goal
this playoffs, but he was a very useful playoff player.
Yeah,
the
team didn't do great.
Yeah, the team wasn't all there, but Yarncroke was very useful in the playoffs.
They did great until game 2 of their series against Edmonton, and even game 1 was
halfway
iffy.
through game 1.
Yeah, fair enough.
Halfway through game 1, I'm like, the series is going to be over in 3 because the Oilers are going to just forfeit game 4.
Right.
And then Calgary never won another game.
So why is he of use to the Leafs then?
So he can do the middle and the wing, and
so he can play center.
Yes, they're going to need a guy who can do that when Kerfoot inevitably leaves. Also, it's just good to have guys who can play the middle. Engvall can play the middle too. So that shutdown line there will have 3 guys who can take the face off, assuming that's how it shakes out.
Right. So if somebody gets a penalty, Yarncroke, then Kampf can take one, or Kampf probably is the guy you want taking the face off anyway.
Yep.
Engvall.
2.1 is a reasonable number. 4 years is surprising for a 30-year-old. But when Dubious was an agent, Yarncroke was one of his clients.
Yes, I know.
Because Kyle Dubious loves His guys, does he love them? From the bottom of his heart, he loves them.
His stint as an agent wasn't very long.
I don't even know who he represented.
Well, Kelly
We got
Armstrong.
one guy.
Who played for Brunis, who in my video I called Bruce Saint Marie. Bruce Saint Marie. And that's why he's a Leaf, baby.
So I mean, Toronto's lineup doesn't seem that far from kind of where it's going.
Yep.
But the thing that obviously needs to happen, James Myrtle wrote an article about it in The Athletic yesterday.
Can I just add one thing to Kyle Dubas' resume? He was also the agent of Kyle Clifford.
No way, really?
Because Kyle Dubas loves his guys. Holy shit.
As I was saying, James Myrtle put the article in The Athletic. We all can see it. A trade has to happen, and it's one of two guys. Or maybe it's both. Justin Hall or Alex Kerfoot.
Hall won't be enough.
Well, he won't be enough on the ice either.
Well, there's that. I don't really know I don't know how that defense is going to shake out. But sorry, you were Hall?
Hall, I mean, is it Hall and Kerfoot? And neither get you much.
Hall and Kerfoot would be enough.
Because here's the thing. Kerfoot scored 51 points last year. As much as people seem to not like the guy, he's been a pretty good penalty killer. He's got great wheels. He scores a pretty good amount of points. He's not Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Marner level. Mm-hmm. $3.5 million for 51 points is pretty good value in this league.
They'd be pretty formidable if they found a way to keep him. And the way they could keep him is
trading Justin Hall and something else, or Jake Muzzin. Well, okay, so I have to ask this. And I have to admit, my bias is squarely on and I love the guy, trade Jake Muzzin train. They are weaker on the right side. They got the strength on the left side, assuming Sandin comes back at a reasonable number, which he will. It's apparently that contract's only between $1 and $2 million, so I'm not really sure what they're fighting about.
Sandy, pride.
Oh God! Like both sides, got to stop this.
That's what these RFA negotiations are usually about.
Just pride.
The cap space also isn't there right now.
Agreed.
They're literally over the cap.
Agreed.
They can't sign it.
But I love Jake Muzzin, but there's a lot of hard miles on that body. There's teams that would take him.
Yeah.
You probably could get something back minimally, but the most important thing you'd get back is the cap space.
I'm not jacked about losing him for nothing. That's a tough one. Oh boy. I don't know what to do there. And it's funny, this whole notion of running it back. I think if you trade Jake Muzzin, you look extremely different, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They already do.
They already do.
They're not running it back. They
Yeah.
ran it back last season. Last season was the run it back season.
Yes.
Well,
yes, it was.
No, they moved on from Freddie Anderson.
Oh, never mind.
Yes, yeah.
There you go.
They haven't really run it back. They've always had to tinker and bring in these new guys, and especially on the outside edges. The core six, I guess 5 now have stayed the same, but everybody else is just swapping in and out.
And honestly, I wouldn't include Freddie in the core even in his last season. He was a non-factor.
Well,
with the injury.
Who's screwing it up? Joe Sakic and the Colorado Avalanche are wrecking everyone's summer.
Why is that?
Because they are very obviously looking for a trade to get the room to re-sign Nazem Kadri. I think that's where he's signing. I don't see him signing anywhere else. And until those two figure out what they're doing, treating the Avalanche and Kadri as separate parties, we can't get on with our summer.
You think the Jake Muzzin deal is being held up by Nazem Kadri?
Well, I don't think they're not
necessarily.
dealing Jake Muzzin. We've already been told that.
Who?
People have said that they're not dealing. There's Myrtle has reported it. I think CJ talked about it on the CJ show.
Oh, interesting.
Muzzin's staying.
Because when we did the staying or going, he didn't give a concrete answer on Muzzin, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I might have saved that in a note on my phone. Because someone tweeted it at me recently. They were keeping track, and CJ has not missed.
Who do you trade from the Avs, by the way, Jesse and Steve? Is it Eric Johnson?
Eric Johnson.
Who's taking $6 million of Eric Johnson so you can sign Kadri?
Right. You're sending like a first round pick.
Philly.
At least they have that.
Philly, they don't have enough
like
money
that.
spent on the right side.
They don't have any cap space.
Back to the Muzzin situation. So you, Adam, don't think he's getting moved?
I don't think he's getting moved, and I think he should. I think that they've got to.
His value is likely going to go down after this year.
Yes. And I also so first off, this is a team that was built for an accelerating cap, which never happened, right? So this team was built before the pandemic, and it was built so that the cap would go up, and we were supposed to be at something like $90 million right now. That's not going to happen until 2025.
It's easily the most important factor when talking about this team's story, and no one ever brings it up.
Right, but that's nuanced. It's just easier to say, fuck them, they're bad, fire Dubious.
Fuck them.
Okay, so you've got...
All right.
So now, but you have to deal with in the new world. And the new world is there's a flat cap.
Yeah.
And the way you built this team doesn't apply to the new world. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the core four. And if you suggest that trading one of them might be the new play, people will lose their effing minds with you. Because then you're automatically in the William Nylander sucks. He's never been good. Trade him. What a terrible value contract, which is not what I'm suggesting. But I feel like, and I understand why they're doing what they're doing, and I think they had a great year last year. I get it. But I'm still looking at this team and going, you built this for another reality that no longer exists.
Right. And they're all so good, though.
They are. I don't even mind the Tavares. Everybody seems to have a problem with this Tavares contract. You even look at Dom Luszczyszyn's model. Okay, so Tavares makes $11 million. By Dom's model, he's like a $9.5 to a $9.7 million player.
I still think he has a better season this
For
upcoming
sure.
year than last.
And I wonder when they move him to the wing and if he's not more effective there as well.
Well, and, so I sort of thought about that, and Yarncroke isn't that. Like,
No, but
imagine Tavares, Yarncroke,
Could Nylander be?
Nylander. At what point do we officially declare that ship sailed?
I
My
don't know.
answer is 2 years ago.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying, like, there's got to be, if you are going to keep those four, and you've given Morgan Riley the raise, and he's here forever, and that's great. What else? I'm looking at a 33-year-old defenseman who has hard miles, who makes $5.625 million for 2 more years.
Yeah. But, like, is Sandin ready to take that on? I think we forget that Giordano
Is here.
isn't he here for 2 more years?
Yes. $800,000 each year.
Oh man.
So you've got Morgan Riley, Jake Muzzin, Timothy Liljegren, Mark Giordano, Rasmus Sandin, and Justin Hall or someone else.
Can Gio play the right?
I think he played both, but yeah, he's a left defenseman. But he's a left shot, that plays the right.
Right.
Like TJ Brody.
I don't know. And same with Mete and Ben.
If you were looking for perfect, it's a salary cap. You're never going to get that.
Yeah, I'm having it. Usually you're able to picture what it's all going to look like. I have no idea what the Leafs are going to look like next year. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
If they trade Kerfoot for a pick, I think that makes things simpler. I don't know if it's going to shake out that way. I don't know. I can't wait for Dubious to just yard sale our entire show by making a deal
as soon as we post
2:30. Yeah.
I mean, Jesse, are you keeping it the way that it is and trading Kerfoot or Hall, or are you looking at a bigger move like Muzzin?
So you think keeping it the same way is trading Kerfoot or Hall?
You have to move salary out one way or the other. So it's easier to move out Hall or Kerfoot because they're on expiring contracts at the end of the year, right? They're UFA next year. So that's why I'm bringing them up specifically. Myrtle mentioned them in The Athletic. They seem to be the names that are bandied about the most.
Would you guys ever move Sandin?
I would.
What does he get you?
I don't wanna. I don't know. He's prime offer sheet guy.
Mm-hmm.
Prime.
And no one's done it.
Well, because like you could offer him $4 million, it wouldn't even be that much return, and the Leafs have to just go, okay, well, thanks for the picks.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah. They're screwed. They don't have anything to do. But like if you trade him for a pick, you're not getting better. Like I look at, so comparing the Connor Brown deal to Washington and potential Kerfoot deal. If you get a 2nd round pick for Kerfoot, you get the cap space, and also when the trade deadline comes around, you can move that second for something of quality that helps your lineup. So that can make some sense. And then you're also getting Matthew Nyes. And all of a sudden, it's a little easier to picture the Leafs at the trade deadline than it is in September. I don't know. And I'm going to continue to blame it on Joe Sakic because it bugs Drew. It bugs me. Well, and like there's like a guy like Paul Stastny, a guy like Nino Niederreiter. They should have teams. They don't have teams. Why don't they have teams? Because everyone's waiting to see what happens here. It's not because people don't value them.
Even like Klingberg. Why doesn't John Klingberg have a team?
Because it's come down to Dallas and Detroit, and I think Detroit wants to know what's going to happen with Kadri too.
If they're going to get Kadri or not.
See, they were rumored to be in on him, but then they got Kopp. So I feel like that doesn't work anymore. Yeah, what's going on? Like, is Dallas in on Kadri? Is that what I'm extrapolating here?
It's just there were so many deals that were outstanding when all the TV shows kind of signed off on last Wednesday.
Gaudreau wasn't even signed,
and none of them except for the Gaudreau one have really been solved.
Well, we're done
sitting here, like 5 days later, and we still have all of these questions.
Guys, we're the only ones still standing. We're still doing this. Everybody else has already taken off. What are we doing here?
No more 32 thoughts. You're gonna get it from us, and I'll be like, I spoke to no one.
Here's my guess, though.
Here's my guess. It was fun at hockey on Wednesday. I got to break the Gaudreau signing. Yeah, everyone was like, "What? Columbus? But why?"
Is it this year the Oshawa hockey?
This is my adult learn to play scrimmage. I scored a goal last week.
I didn't know it was back
so
up.
Proud. There's the winter session and the summer session. I've missed almost all of the summer session ones.
I was about to say, I haven't heard you play at all.
Well, because so I did a 4-hour stream and then went.
Oh,
I couldn't go when I was in Montreal. There were playoff streams. They played a lot of Wednesdays. But I'm back on the ice and kicking ass. Great player. Unreal skater. I'm so fucking bad. But I'm less bad than I was.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. So anyway, the Leafs.
What? Yeah, I'm better. Sign me. I don't know, man. I know that's not a compelling answer. It seems like the simple one. See, even if you just move Kerfoot for for a second, sorry, that gives you $2 million. What if you can't convince Sandin to sign that? Because
I think they know what Sandin's number is too.
Can they give it to him?
I think they don't want to. I think whatever his number is different from their number.
If you have time, use it. But I'm not convinced you have time here. And Dubois is such a ridiculous wrench in all this. As we're talking about all these chess pieces that need to fall, it's kind of a massive one, no? What if Montreal is clearing space for Kadri, like I always said they were when they were in the Stanley Cup final, and it looked like a thing that might actually happen?
Ooh, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thought, and I'm curious to see how this looks come fall, because 5 days out, I'm feeling a lot better about the goaltending.
Yeah,
it's not because I think they're going to be world beaters. I don't. But the goaltending doesn't include Michael Hutchinson, which I'm happy about.
Vegas.
These goalies have been good before. And I'm quite confident that if neither of them work out, there's going to be some major changes to the team anyway. Right? Because the worst is when something doesn't work out again and again and again, and then nothing happens.
Right.
But I think we're looking at right now, if they don't get to the second round, I think that board at MLSE is going to have some serious questions about what's going on from not just Dubious, but above. One
thing I really liked hearing about the new tandem is Friedge, I think it was on his last edition of 32 Thoughts for the season, said Ilya Samsonov liked Toronto's offer because he saw the goaltending situation and said, I can win the job there.
Oh, I like that kind of competitiveness.
And Kyle Dubas spoke to that as well during his press conference, where he says this is a guy who's going to come in and he's going to challenge for the number one job, and it's a competition between the two of them to see who's number one.
Well, even if Murray's healthy, I don't think it makes sense for him to play much more than 50% of the games. Dude played 20 games last year.
I think his career high, off the top of my head, is 56. Like, he's never played 60 games.
Platoon
He's
guy.
not a 70-game goal. He's not Vasilevsky. you
That's
know?
his career high, and I'm pretty sure that only happened like once.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, 4 years ago?
Well, because it was, I want to say it was Fleury, a really young Tristan Jarry, and then an emergent Tristan Jarry who sort of took some of the net from him and injuries and all that. What do you got?
Career high is... Oh, I even overestimated. 50 games in 18-19 for
And
the Penguins.
How many times has he played above 40?
The 2 seasons previous to that, 17-18 and 16-17, both 49 games. So he essentially went 50-50-50 for 3 straight years, and then after that, it's 38-27-20.
Part of me wonders too with the market if there are any conversations happening between the Blackhawks and other teams with Taze and Kane.
Pat Brisson's clients.
Also Brisson clients. Okay.
Like, there's the potential here for there to be like a second free agent frenzy.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's too much that needs to happen still.
Yeah.
There's way too much. And just please do it before August. That's all I ask. Listen,
That's
you
fair.
can take your time and you can build drama and play coy and all that.
Warning for the next part of the podcast, there are discussions about sexual abuse, and it may not be suitable for all audiences.
Now, yesterday we announced, we released a special episode with Rick Westhead regarding the Hockey Canada situation as it stands. And obviously Rick is constantly working on this story, so there have been some updates over the weekend. To catch you up quickly, they're like the agent or some lawyers basically for the players came out and said, well, Hockey Canada bungled this. And then of course, through the whole, this is consensual thing out there, which is, what lawyers are going to do.
Of course.
And so the next sort of thing is people are starting to decipher what's going on here.
Well, so yesterday there was actually this. You might have been asleep when this broke.
Might have been.
But basically, Rick issued a clarification from the players' legal counsel, because the players' legal counsel said Hockey Canada knew the identities of the players for 4 years, which is a lofty accusation. And then yesterday, the lawyer essentially said, never mind. How do you fuck that up? How do you make that mistake? They knew for 4 years, and then it was, we're not actually sure if they knew for 4 years. There is mass confusion here. The players' legal counsel are making enormous mistakes, and that was one of them. The leadership at Hockey Canada was so unprepared to speak to Parliament that Parliament was upset about it, and they're forcing them to come back and speak again. And they're going to continue to call witnesses for as long as it is. Jesse has it up on the screen. Or was that the correct tweet? Can you read it?
Oh, the one from yesterday?
Yes.
But the lawyers representing? I
Yes.
can read it. Yeah, it's a long thread. Here we go. Lawyers representing 7 members of Canada's 2018 World Juniors team are criticizing Hockey Canada's handling of the settlement of a sexual assault lawsuit, saying players cooperated with a police investigation in 2018 and weren't notified of the litigation. The lawyers say their clients, who had not been publicly identified, deny wrongdoing and allege that any sexual contact between the female plaintiff and the players was consensual, the Globe reports. The lawyers have outlined their concerns in a 10-page letter to Hockey Canada. Each of the players who was asked by police to give a statement or interview did so, the lawyers said, adding the plaintiff did as well. Players also gave police videos and text message recordings or exchanged around that time of the incident. The lead detective for London Police wrote in an email in February 2019 that he did not have reasonable grounds to believe a sexual assault had taken place, lawyers told the Globe. Once the London Police investigation was complete, lawyers said their clients were willing to cooperate with a Hockey Canada investigation led by the law firm Heinen Hutchison, but were not asked to sit for an interview or provide a statement, lawyers told the Globe. Heinen Hutchison told the Globe that 10 players cooperated with their investigation in 2018, 2 declined to participate, and 7 declined pending the completion of the police investigation. and then there's some context.
So the clarification says Lou Strazos, a lawyer for former CHL players accused of a 2018 sexual assault, says he does not know whether Hockey Canada officials have ever been aware of the identities of the players, contrary to what he wrote on July 13th, 2022, in a July 13th, 2022 letter to Hockey Canada. Like that's an enormous clarification. Enormous clarification.
It's just how we've already asked this, but how are they unsure?
How on earth are you unsure?
How are you flip-flopping on whether you know or not for months now?
And how did this all start? Or one of the ways this started was we heard about the investigation. Then a statement was released where they mentioned they're all CHL players.
Accidentally, they mentioned that.
Accidentally, and we're not stupid. We looked at the team and we went, all right, so it's not that guy, or that guy. And then they went, oops, oh, shoot. And then the NHL releases a statement saying they were all World Junior players, because remember, there was some doubt about whether or not they were all on the World Junior team. Okay, so they're all CHL players, they're all World Junior players, and we're just playing flip. What's that game? Guess Who? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I never owned it. I just saw the commercials. I wanted to highlight someone else's work because Rick Westhead is obviously doing an amazing job. The Globe and Mail, I apologize if
Robin Doolittle. No?
No, it wasn't. It was Chris Freeze and someone else at the Globe. I'm sorry. Katie Strang. But Ken Campbell, I wanted to highlight because I've been getting these updates, and I realize not everyone is probably, because I'm subscribed to his website. I think it's
Substack, right?
I think it's a Substack. It's called Hockey Unfiltered.
You were thinking about Colin Freeze and Joe Friesen.
There it is.
Colin Freeze.
From the Globe. Yeah. Joe Friesen.
Okay.
I was Joe Friesen.
I thought you meant because Rick mentioned Robin Doolittle last show.
Yes, he
right?
did.
So my apologies on that.
No, but those are the two reporting for the Globe on Hockey Canada. There you go.
So Ken, I wanted to highlight something from Ken's work, and like I'm not going to be one of those people who just screenshots friggin' an entire athletic article and then throws it on Twitter for free. But so Connor Timmins issued a statement. Connor Timmins was on the 2018 World Junior team. We're basically saying, listen, I had nothing to do with this. So Timmins joined Victor Mete, Cale Makar, Dante Fabro, Jonah Gadjevich, and Cal Foote as players from that team who have gone on the public record claiming their innocence. We already know that Mete, Jordan Kyrou, and Cale Clegg were not at the event, and since it alleged only players playing in the Canadian Hockey League, that rules out former U.S. college players Cale Makar, Dante Fabro, and Colton Point. According to the statement of claim in the since settled lawsuit, 2 of the players involved in the alleged gang rape were born in 1999, and the other 6 were born in 1998. The picture is becoming a little more clear with each development. Ken has done fantastic work on this, and I don't know if you're paying attention, but today I went through the roster. Like, I'm not going to play this game, but there's
the names are coming out.
There's 8 accused and 13 potential names left.
By the time we sit here at the end of the summer, we're going to have all the names.
It could be up by like tonight.
Right.
Yeah. So just wanted to highlight that. Pay for journalism. Hockey Unfiltered, Ken Campbell. If you're interested in this story, he's covering it every day.
Yep. There you go. So with that, I mean, it's it sucks.
Yeah,
It sucks. And that's, I listened back to yesterday's episode and I thought, man, this sucks. I don't want this to be this way. And I think Rick said it perfectly, is like, this isn't going away, but there are measures you can take to prevent this from happening. He said it because Rick said it'll never not happen. There are always predators.
Right.
But if we continue down this road, it will happen far more.
Bravo, by the way.
On what?
The moment near the end of the show where basically you figured out the timeline of there was no settlement, then Rick discovers the lawsuit, and all of a sudden there very quickly is a settlement. Like, neither of us picked up on that.
Well, I think it's one of those things where I just, now having dated a lawyer, I know how long lawsuits take, and I just thought it was weird that the lawsuit was settled into 4 weeks. That never happens.
It's rather it's an interesting
you know what?
timeline.
Somebody said it perfectly in the comments. Rick Westhead must live in their nightmares.
The Grim Reaper.
And yeah. So anyway, we'll obviously continue to follow Rick and Katie and everybody else who's on this story. That's real journalism, guys. It's the real thing. And Rick said it perfectly. I thought it was hilarious. He's like, I don't know enough about hockey to report on the game. Like, he's like, this is what I know. And I thought that was a very interesting and funny
Coming
comment.
from a guy who was on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah.
Rick, you're very smart.
Yeah,
Like, you know about the game.
I think Rick's being humble.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, Rick, I only deal in facts, and you were on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's
I think you know a thing or two about hockey.
Let's do the press conference. Therapy. We've all had it. We're open about that.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes you just need it. And even when you don't need it, it's good to get. It's one of those things that can change somebody's life. Or as my friend likes to say, he said, it makes me about 5 to 6% better than I was.
That's good.
And I think that's a pretty good edge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy can be an extremely positive experience, as we all know. And BetterHelp Online Therapy is a place that you can get it. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat therapy sessions, so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. Much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Now, the Steve Dangle Podcast wants you to have 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So it's betterhelp.com/SDP. That's BetterHelp.com/SDP. Take care of your mental health. Check out BetterHelp. It's summertime, but that does not mean that the sports have stopped. We've got the CFL, we got golf, we got tennis, we got CONCACAF, we got everything.
Baseball.
Yeah, baseball.
Yeah.
Listen, before the game starts, live and play, or how your favorite player would perform, you can look it all up right now at Canada Sportsbook. Get Sports Interaction. Doing it right since 1997. The most competitive odds. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, easy to play, and easy to cash out. Join now and see that all that sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. As always, it's 19 plus. Please play responsibly.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Well, what have we?
By the way, for that Rick Westhead episode we released yesterday, there's also a transcription of the episode.
Yes.
You can find it in the description of the episode there. We don't do that very often, but for these special episodes, our wonderful community manager, Robert Malloy, steps up to the plate and provides transcriptions for episodes. So thank you for doing that. First question. Not a question, but I guess a shout out to Steve and coconut oil. This comes from
Why?
Sean Jack.
What?
My theater company just opened a show in BC, a show that I'm in. And I've unfortunately just had a bout with COVID. My voice was completely shot before opening night, and I was really worried about having enough voice left to perform. And then a little Steve Dangle voice popped into my head, reminding me to put coconut oil in my tea. Did the trick magnificently. Still had no voice by the end of the show, but it gave me just enough voice to nail opening night and then take some rest the next day to recuperate. Lifesaver. Thanks, Steve. Now, this comes from a couple months back when Adam was very sick and his voice was shot. And you also were, your voice was shot come playoff time because of all the streams and the podcast. And both of you had voice troubles. And you swore by coconut oil. And now, look, it has directly affected the listeners of this podcast who now use coconut oil for their voice.
Coconut oil in your tea or coffee. I prefer coffee, especially if you're able to blend it with like a magic bullet or something and get it to foam, get it to froth a little bit. I'm telling you. It doubles as it'll coat your throat and also fix chapped lips. Coconut oil, there's nothing it can't do.
There it is. There it is.
That's funny.
That is funny. My voice is not fully recovered from that yet, so I'm still struggling, but it's coming.
Have you had any coconut oil?
No, I haven't. I should get
shit.
some. I guess. Idiot.
That's what you deserve.
Dummy.
A borderline, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Comrade has a trivia question for us on our Discord. Only one player in NHL history has won the Lady Byng and the Conn Smythe in the same season. Can you name the player?
Yuri Lettinen.
You said that really
Yeah.
No, he was a
Is
Selke guy.
that-
He was a Selke guy.
Is that the correct answer?
No, it
It's
wasn't.
not.
Yeah, I just really liked him, and nobody else knew who he was. But when he was on Dallas, I thought he was great. He was a Selke guy. Lady Byng. and-
Nick Lidstrom?
Incorrect.
Damn.
You each get
like an actual
3
guess.
guesses.
No, not each 3 guesses. That's too many guesses. You get one more, and I get one more.
Okay, fine.
That's it.
Brad Richards.
That's
Is that it?
that's the correct answer.
Oh,
Why was
get out
that
of
so
town.
comical, Adam?
Get out of
Is there
town,
something
really?
comical about Steve's guess? That is
Really?
completely correct.
That was the one I was gonna go with, and then I was like, no, like Nick Lidstrom. It's
No
Nick
way.
Lidstrom.
Now, would that be the Tampa 2004 Cup?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well done.
damn, I would have thought it would have gone to St. Louis or something like that. But I guess we're
26.
Brad Richards, baby.
Wow.
He rode that
26
forever.
Playoff points, 26.
Wow, he was unreal.
Yeah, and 12 PIMs in the regular season.
Wow,
That's it.
Damn.
Yeah, well done.
2 fights and a hooking.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I'm sure it's what it was. Go ahead.
I
Sorry,
want to know
Jesse.
most fighting majors for a Lady Byng winner. Anyway,
Sportsnet stats, I'm sure.
Lifelong Mariners fan has figured out why Dylan Strome will not sign with the Leafs ever. From Dylan Strome's dog's Instagram, someone commented, "Your dad is going to be a future Leaf." And then the dog replied, "No, we can't because Just Food for Dogs doesn't ship to Canada." So the dog can't get its dog food in Canada, so Dylan Strome will not play for the Leafs.
what's the name of the dog?
The Golden Stromes. I don't know the name of the 2 dogs. The 2 dogs have an Instagram account.
Okay, well,
They have a sponsor, I think.
to
right?
Dylan Strome's dogs, your dad's rich. Everything ships to Canada when your dad's rich.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
There's also a new season of The Bachelorette. Our Discord points out from Nugget. If we want to do Bachelor bios, they are available.
Can we do that next episode? I would really like to do that.
Yeah, if there's time.
Do the full buy. Because listen, we're getting into the summer episodes here. And unless Nazem Kadri gets moved or figures out where he's signing or whatever it is, I don't know what's going to happen, guys.
Fucking happening.
You think it's going to happen?
It's happening.
When's it happening? This week?
I think you know what? The second Elliot Friedman steps foot on a dock, that's when the Nazem Kadri trade or signing breaks. Elliot Friedman dips his little toesy in the water somewhere in Muskogee. The Colorado Avalanche have signed Nazem Kadri
All right.
to an 8-year deal.
Okay.
Boom.
7. Can't do 8 either anymore. He's unrestricted now. They missed their 8-year opportunity.
Fucker.
Yeah, I know. Does Joe Sakic deserve to be fired? Check out the link to this cat-friendly page.
Really ought to be fired. Joe Sakic. I really did kill Krillin with that tweet.
You did.
And his hair went blonde and he never fucking looked back. Man,
That was rough, man. That was rough.
I've had better.
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.